Do you have an unused wall in your home, office, garage, or man cave and want to find a way to show off your Second Amendment? I'm going to show you how I took an awkward wall in my office and turned it into this. If you watch any of the videos on this channel or the podcast on this channel as well, you'll notice this background. We've had this background for probably about a year now. And prior to that, I really struggled with finding a good background for this channel because we do talk about guns. And I had an office and wasn't really set up for a cool YouTube background. And then I realized I have a lot of empty wall space, especially this wall that is kind of backed out a little bit from the room. So it's kind of like an extension of just the regular room. So it was a perfect area to put a desk. And then I realized, hey, you own a gun company, have a YouTube channel, and talk about guns. You should probably have them in the background somehow. And so I did some research and found Tactical Walls and realized they had these ModWall panels. And years ago, when I first got into firearms and before I had a safe, I was looking for some concealment furniture and found Tactical Walls and some of the cool concealment furniture that they have where you can really hide stuff in plain sight, and it is actually really secure. So I ended up buying like a shelf or something to hide some guns and really like that. So when I was looking for some sort of wall panel system, I remembered that and that they did have some wall panels back then. So went back and went through their website, and the cool thing is they do have options. So yes, you can buy the panels separately and build out your wall however you want to. But if you're indecisive like me and really can't decide what you want to do, they do have like some setup kits that you can go through depending on what you want to set up. So if you just have pistols or all rifles, you want to kind of mix and match a bunch of stuff, they have kits there so you can buy the number of wall panels that you need or that they have on there, and they'll already have accessories and stuff that you need to mount the guns to however you want to. Or you can just buy the panels individually depending on how many you want, and then just buy the accessories for whatever guns or magazines or shelving or whatever you want to put up there. You can buy them separately yourself if you don't want to go with one of the packages. I ended up contacting Tactical Walls and talked to one of their representatives, and he helped me kind of build out a wall. I definitely would have a different setup if I wasn't using this as a video background. I definitely have it set up a lot different, but I told him I want to have these kind of set up in the video platform for like YouTube videos and a podcast that we have, and went over the dimensions of the wall and kind of how I wanted to display stuff. And this is kind of what we came up with. They sent me some different accessories to try out, especially for mounting different types of rifles, because I wanted to vary between rifles and pistols, but also have some shelves to put some stuff up. And then you see up there, I do have a tactical vest up there as well. So I wanted kind of a variety of things. Initially, I ordered 9 panels thinking I was just going to fill up this whole wall. And then I realized that was going to be way too much. Plus, I'm somebody that doesn't like to put holes in walls. So I ended up going with 6. So behind me are 6 of their ModWall panels, and then they fit perfectly with the background. I could have definitely gone with the 9 panels, but that would have taken up the whole wall, floor to ceiling, wall to wall. And I would have had to cut them because this wall is a little awkward. And of course, it was just too short to fit all 3 panels across. The panels are actually 48 inches wide by 22 inches tall, and they're about a ½ inch thick. They are made out of plastic, but a high quality plastic to where they're strong enough they are going to hold the weight of your guns, but then it's soft enough to where it's really not going to scratch your stuff up. And because they are made of that plastic, you are able to cut these down to a specific size if you need to. I figured 6 was enough, so I do have 3 spare panels, but it's really cool that you can customize them to fit whatever size room or area that you want to put these on. Easy to cut them down and then mount them to the wall. And when you buy the panels, they each come with their own set of mounting screws and instructions on how to get them set up. It's a pretty easy process to set these up. What you do want to pay attention to is your studs behind the walls, because you do have to screw these to the studs because of all the weight that these are holding. Not only the weight of the panels themselves, which are about 15 pounds, give or take, but then whatever you put up there as well. You'll see on each panel, they are marked at 16 inches on center for basically normal house construction here in the US. So normally we're 16 inches apart. So you'll see that they're kind of not all the way fully pre-drilled, but they're 3/4 of the way pre-drilled. So that way you'll see where you need to screw those. And then I highly recommend getting a good stud finder because you're definitely going to want to find the center of the studs, especially when you have two panels butt up next to each other. So you're going to screw two panels basically into one stud. You want to make sure you have plenty of room for each panel to screw in straight. So let's get into the installation of these panels. It's pretty straightforward, especially if you have a buddy helping you, which you will definitely need. It's not that these panels are heavy, it's just that they're awkward, and trying to get them level, you definitely need an extra pair of hands. So I conned my co-host into helping me install these panels. So you see we have this one awkward wall in my office, and I went ahead and painted it black so that way when we put up the black wall panels, it kind of blended in and didn't stick out that I was missing some panels where I didn't want to install them. Kind of just made it look like a better background. So the first thing we did, and I highly recommend you doing, is getting a good stud finder. I have a cheap one from Home Depot and definitely wish I would have bought a better one or double and triple checked where I put the studs, because what you're going to want to do is mark out your stud locations because you're going to screw these to the studs. And if you have two panels that are butting up next to each other, you're going to have basically two screws going into one stud. And if you don't get it correctly, you're going to have to angle one of the screws in kind of like we did, and that's going to affect the way you put some of these accessories on the walls. So definitely double, triple, quadruple check that you have this layout correctly. And then what we did is once we had those marked, we took a pencil and just a level and drew a line all the way down the wall. So that way we had a reference to where those studs were once we covered them up with the wall panels. Now these pre-laid out slots are mostly drilled through. You don't necessarily have to finish drilling these through to put in a screw. I found it easier on at least the first couple areas where you're going to screw it to the wall. It's a little bit easier to drill them out the rest of the way. So then that way it's a little bit easier when you're holding the wall panel. You're not struggling while trying to screw it in. It makes it a little bit easier. But then the rest of the ones, we were able to screw through the rest of the plastic into the stud. Getting the first wall panel up was the most difficult, making sure that was in the spot it needed to be. But then from there, it's easy to put up the next ones. You just butt them up right next to each other, whether it's side by side or on top or bottom. Makes it a lot easier and kind of faster to go. Once you get that first one set, the rest of them will install a lot easier. And then once we got all 6 panels installed, we went back through and added more screws to the areas just to make sure these were secure, especially in the corners and the middle where we're going to have most of the weight. And that's pretty much it. Not a whole lot to install these things, but like I said, laying them out and making sure you hit the stud is the most important thing, because the way the accessories install to the wall panels is on the back of a lot of the accessories. They have these slots that actually go into those almost pre-drilled areas, and then they're going to slide onto the rail system. And if you didn't get the screws in there just right and had to angle them like we did, any of the screws that are sticking out, especially the ones that are angled, you're not going to be able to get those accessories installed around those screws. So you're definitely going to have to change your layout a little bit to kind of work around those. So we found that out the hard way. Didn't really realize it at first when we installed them, that's how that was going to work. So if you definitely want to make sure you get them straight into the wall and not angled, because then it will affect the way you install things. But after we got the panels up, the next step was just mounting everything to the wall. Like I said, it's pretty easy to put these accessories on there as long as you got the screws in there straight. They just go into the holes and then they slide left to right depending on where you want it. And then they pretty much stay put wherever you put them. Deciding on where everything is going to go on the wall is what took us a little while. Definitely some trial and error with that. Put some stuff up there and then maybe we got to move some things around. So definitely the hardest part for me was trying to figure out where to put stuff, but it's really cool. Makes it really easy to slide stuff on and off, especially if you put something up there and you're like, I don't like it that way. It's super easy just to take those off and then put them on somewhere or put a different accessory on there. So, and then if you get sick of the way it's laid out and want to change it up, pretty easy to just move everything around and do a new setup every now and then, especially if you add to your gun collection and you want to add some new guns. Just buy the new accessories depending on how you want to set it up. Stick them in those holes, slide them over to wherever you want on the panels, and you're good to go. The one complaint I have about this system is when it comes to using some of the smaller accessories where you're going to either use a rifle mount or a pistol mount. These accessories, there's really no way to tighten them down to the wall. Basically, they go through those hole slots and then you slide them over onto the grid, and then that's it. There's no way to actually tighten them down to the wall, which on the bigger accessories is not a big deal, because once they're on there, you're not really going to move them around. And once you also put stuff up on there, the weight of the stuff kind of holds everything in place. But these little pistol and rifle holders that I have here, you can see there's a lot of play once you're on there. So when you're actually trying to mount your pistol or rifle, they will move around on you. Once you have it up there and don't touch it, it's fine. But any little movement of the gun or anything can move the mounts as well. So that's my only complaint, is they're not like super tight to the wall. I wish there was maybe like a inset screw or something that you can tighten on some of these accessories just to make them a little bit more secure. But really, other than that, everything else seems to work just fine. It's just some of those little accessories might not be as tight and stable as you would like. But again, once the gun's up there and set, it's fine. It's just if you accidentally bump it, it might throw it off a little bit, and you got to kind of reset the gun on there. But all the other accessories have had no complaints with. They also do have a light now that goes up top. So definitely something I'd be looking into getting eventually, just to maybe shine down on the wall as well. One other thing to note about these panels that may or may not bother you, me, it's not really a big deal, but you can kind of see some of the logos here. They have two different logos, and it's per panel, and it just kind of depends on which ones they give you, I think. Some of them have the actual red and white Tactical Walls logo, and then some of the other ones have just the black ModWall panel logo, which kind of blends in more. So it's not as noticeable when it's up on the wall, but then the red and white ones are a little bit more noticeable, and it's on every panel. So if you don't like a bunch of logos, that is one thing to consider. But you could always cover that up with an accessory or whatever. But do note that there will be some sort of logo on each of these panels. Overall, I've been really happy with these panels. Really no complaints other than that one issue with some of the smaller accessories, and then making sure you actually do hit center stud, because then it will throw off your screws and kind of affect the way you mount stuff. But if you mount them correctly, then you shouldn't have that issue. And they're super versatile. Like I said, you can cut them into any size that you need to. So if you need to have a corner that was awkward like this on this wall, you can definitely cut out a corner in these wall panels, no problem. And they do come with different line colors too. So I just went with the black, but then they have a couple other options, red, blue, and green, just a little bit more of a color fill for you, if you will, to go inside those grid lines. In case you want those to stick out a little bit more. If you go the individual panel route, they're roughly about $168 for just the all black ones, which isn't bad. But then you think about shipping. Unfortunately, they don't do free shipping just because of the size and weight of these. I think with 9 panels that I ordered, they came in like 3 different boxes, and it was about $60 some to ship. But they were coming from like Washington State. I live in Kansas City, so it is quite a distance for something that big and heavy. So $60 isn't that much. I'm sure if you order less than 9 panels like I did, your shipping might be a little bit cheaper. So just keep that in mind. If you do order these panels, you will have to pay for shipping. But they do have a lot of sales going on every now and then. Like right now, they're doing a fall sale with 20% off. So that does help cover some of those shipping costs as well. So check out their website, tacticalwalls.com. They got a lot of cool stuff on there, even concealment furniture and other stuff like that if you want to go that route, or even add that to this wall or something else. The hardest part about setting up one of these walls is deciding what accessories and how you're going to set it up. So there's a lot of pictures and stuff that you can look up online, or even reach out to the customer service. They're really easy to work with. And if you give them the dimensions of your room and kind of what you're looking for, they'll kind of step you in the right direction as well. And if you want to go really crazy and build an entire gun room, they definitely have a consultant just for that, helping you design your gun room. So that's another cool option on their website as well. But for most of us, we're probably just going to throw this up on a wall. We can do it ourselves, maybe get some help from them on picking out some of the accessories. But if you want to go the full route, do a gun room, they do have that option for a consultant. So if you end up building your own gun room or gun wall setup, or if you already have one, whether it's ModWalls or any other company, take some photos of those and post them over on our Facebook page, Boomstick Tactical LLC, so we can see your setup and maybe give some inspiration to those that are looking to do their setup, but maybe indecisive like me and can't decide which way they want to go. That might help give them some inspiration. So post those photos on our Facebook page, Boomstick Tactical LLC. And if you guys like this content, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button, totally free for you, and you'll be notified when we come out with more videos and the podcast with this cool, awesome setup in the background. Thanks for watching.